a lot was done to redeem the character of Renji Abarai during the 1000-Year Blood War arc of Bleach. During the first Quincy invasion, he was defeated by Mask the Masculine, and after which he was taken to the royal palace where he received special training from Ichibei Hyosobe, where he had learnt the true name of his Bankai. For the duration of the series, Renji had been referring to his Bankai as Hihio Zabimaru. This false name was as a result of his Zanpakuto spirit Zabimaru not fully acknowledging Renji, which is why it hadn't shared the true name of its Bankai to him. In chapter 564, Renji has a newfound resolve to become stronger so that he is worthy of wielding Zabimaru's true Bankai, because Ichibei had revealed to him its true name. Now, during the manga, the only time that Renji utilizes his new Bankai is during his battle against Mask the Masculine, and we had seen this adapted into episode 18 of the 1000-Year Blood War arc anime, which had adapted material from chapter 564, which is the first time that his new Bankai is revealed to us. Now, since then, the anime has in fact expanded upon Renji's role by giving him an all-new anime-exclusive fight against Uryu during episode 33, which had just aired last weekend. With this being the second time that Renji utilizes his new Bankai So'o Zabimaru, the anime does a fantastic job of expanding upon his moveset by showing us several new abilities that we have never seen before. So in this video, I want to go over all of the new abilities and new powers which Renji had showcased during the most recent episode of Bleach. Be sure to stick around until the very end of this video, as I'll also be covering his all-new ultimate finishing attack called Zagai Zekko. So without further delay, here is my video breaking down all of Renji's new abilities revealed within the 1000-Year Blood War arc anime. We got really tired of the same old boring anime shirts, so we decided to launch Getsuga.com with the aim of creating designs inspired by our favorite anime and manga. We came up with designs that look cool and represent all of our favorite stories. Check out the latest Instinct collection, which features some amazing designs like this Frosted Heavens design inspired by Toshiro Hitsugaya, or this Instinct design inspired by Holo Ichigo, and my personal favorite, which is the Heart design, which was inspired by Ukiura Shifa. Do not miss out, go to Getsuga.com and wear your favorite stories. Renji's false Bankai Hihio Zabimaru was revealed within chapter 141 of the manga during his battle against Byakuya. This version of his Bankai had transformed his Zanpakuto into a giant version of its Shikai form, as it takes on the shape of a snake made up of segmented skeletal structures. Its physical appearance resembles the vertebrae of a spinal column. Hihio Zabimaru was used by Renji to primarily smash the snake head into his opponents. While his attacks were pretty effective at long range, this iteration of his Bankai was virtually useless in close range combat. Hihio Zabimaru was a oversized Bankai which just restricts movement, and when Renji had revealed this Bankai for the first time against Byakuya, it resulted in several segments of his Bankai being seriously damaged, and in chapter 516, Mayuri had revealed that the segments of Renji's Hihio Zabimaru which were broken during this battle were never restored. If Renji continued to use Hihio Zabimaru in the way that he was, his opponents would gradually break more and more of the segments, thus shortening the length of his Bankai, rendering it virtually useless as it loses that long range advantage which it had. So it's for this reason that Kubo had needed to give Renji a significant power boost during the 1000-Year Blood War arc, which would allow him to put up a fight against the Quincy threat and to fight on par with his comrades who also received significant power-ups during this part of the story. In chapter 564, Ichibei reveals to Renji that his Bankai name is a lie, stating that he only knows half of its true name. And the fact that Zabimaru had only revealed half of its name means that Zabimaru only recognizes half of Renji. Renji is shocked as he has been fighting alongside his Zanpakuto for so long. It's understandable that he would feel a sense of betrayal here. This is why Ichibei had difficulty relaying this news over to him. But despite this, he says that he's going to tell him the real name of his Bankai. This is because the Soul King had given Ichibei the name Manako Osho, which means to speak the true name. It was Ichibei who had devised the terms Zanpakuto, Shikai, and Bankai, and he was the first one to name the countless different phenomena which occur within the Soul Society. In addition to this, Ichibei knows the names of all Zanpakuto from the moment that the Asauchi is forged by Nimaya and it is handed to a Shinigami. While Ichibei agrees to tell Renji the true name of his Bankai, Bankai, all Renji needs to do is have his Zanpakuto recognize his power so that he is able to say the name of his Bankai. So Zabimaru is revealed within chapter 564 of the manga and in episode 18 of the 1000-Year Blood War arc anime. His true Bankai consists of two key sections. The first is his right arm, which has the top portion of a snake skull which is covered in fur, and protruding out of the mouth of the snake is his Zanpakuto. Over Renji's left shoulder, he has this gigantic skeletal arm covered in green fur, and the first ability that Renji uses with his true Bankai is Hihio, where he extends out that giant skeletal arm and grabs Mask the Masculine and throws him against a nearby building. When Mask recovers, Renji then uses Orochio. This is where the shape of the blade extending from his right arm takes on a different appearance as it resembles his Shikai Zanpakuto. He then impales Mask the Masculine with his Zanpakuto and then uses an ability called Zagga Teppo, as we see the head of a snake appear made up of golden reishi as it bites down on Mask the Masculine and disintegrates him. This is everything that is revealed about Renji's true Bankai within the manga. He activates it, then utilizes the ability Hihio, followed by the technique Orochio, and then he uses the finishing attack Zagga Teppo. Thankfully, episode 33 of the 1000-Year Blood War arc anime has revealed Renji's Bankai for a second time. This is during his anime exclusive battle against Uryu, and during this fight, Renji's true Bankai gets an extended moveset as we see several new abilities which were not showcased within the manga. Hihio is the name given to that large skeletal arm covered in green fur which is over Renji's own left arm. Within the manga and in episode 33, we've seen that giant arm copy the movements of Renji's left arm, even down to the movements of individual fingers. The skeletal arm Hihio has a lot of power as it's strong enough to crush opponents like Mask the Masculine, and at the very end of episode 33 we had seen a partially manifested form of Hihio, following all of Renji's Reiatsu being drained by Uryu's new ability Veda's Ringer. Despite having little to no Reiatsu, Renji was still able to generate the skeletal arm Hihio, but it appeared without the fur. And using this partial manifestation of Hihio, he had fired off a very weak Hikotsu Taiho from it in his final stand against Uryu. When Renji had Uryu pinned up against a wall, he had closed in the distance and had charged up Hihio with Golden Reishi, which had powered up the skeletal arm to punch Uryu through multiple buildings. Upon activating his Bankai, the first new ability that Renji uses against Uryu is called Zazeka. This transforms the blade on his right arm into segmented sections as it resembles his Shikai form. He whips these bladed sections around and attacks Uryu similar to how he would in his Shikai state. Renji then uses Orochio. This is where the vertebrae columns which wrap around Renji's waist loosen up. In the manga, he had used Orochio in order to impale Mask the Masculine, and in episode 33, Orochio is used in order to swing his blade around and smash Uryu into different buildings. After Renji returns his sword to its original state, he charges towards Uryu as his shoulder pads then launch off of his shoulders and attach to the bottom portion of the snake's head on his right arm. Following this, the blade then glows with golden reishi as he extends out the snake's head with the blade attached to it, with the reishi empowered blade dissolving one of Uryu's arrows as it fires towards him. Uryu does a great job of dodging this attack because it is in fact very deadly if it were to have made contact. The snake's head with the blade attached effortlessly melts through the walls of a building as it then detonates, destroying all of the surrounding area. Renji also uses the arm Hihio in order to defend himself from Uryu's Lichtregen. When Uryu takes to the sky, Renji responds by extending out the snake's head on his right arm by extending out the vertebrae column. Now, what is very notable here is that the blade retracts back into the head of the snake as those shoulder pads remain on the bottom of the snake's head, and this all new technique that he uses in the anime is so similar to Hihio Zabimaru as the snake's head grabs hold of a boulder and smashes it straight into Uryu, and we also see the head of the snake grab a hold of Uryu's body and pin it up against a wall. When Uryu is on the ground, Renji then uses the technique Zagga Teppo. Now, this was the finishing attack which had defeated Mask the Masculine, and it involves Renji impaling his opponent with his blade as he then clenches his fists together and twists his sword into the opponent as the jaws of a head made up of golden reishi appear and they bite down into his target. At the same time, Renji also releases a blast of spiritual energy through his target as it results in a huge explosion. In episode 33, Zagga Teppo wasn't strong enough to defeat Uryu as he had defended himself from the attack by using Bleach. After Uryu activates his holy form, Renji uses an ability called Hihio. Renji joins the thumb and index finger together of his left hand and his skeletal arm copies it as all of the green fur sheds from the arm. As we see several clumps of fur around Uryu, Renji then orders the fur to grow into multiple large arms, which grab hold of Uryu and restrain him in place. Now this is because Renji is about to use an all new technique that we have never seen before, but it needs 20 seconds of time to charge up. He charges up his Reiatsu as he glows with this golden reishi. We then receive an anime exclusive flashback sequence during Renji's training with Ichibei. Renji appears to be exhausted as Ichibei comments upon Renji having just used his true Bankai, and it also appears as though Renji was practicing a new technique in front of Ichibei as he comments on how he was unable to maintain the form of this technique. And if he were to use the technique at its current state, then it will be undone within an instant. In order for him to properly use this technique, he needs to pour more Reiatsu into Zabimaru. He reveals that his new technique needs to have at least 20 seconds of charge time for it to do any serious damage against his opponent. Renji's all-new ultimate finishing attack from his true Bankai is revealed to be called Zagai Zekko. Renji uses the skeletal arm Hihio in order to grab the Orochio part of his Bankai as he swings around the snake and its vertebrae above his head as he generates an overwhelming amount of spiritual energy. Once the spiritual energy is large enough, he throws it towards his opponent, which results in even more of a larger explosion than what was generated in his Zagga Teppo technique. In the aftermath following this technique, we see a huge crater in the ground with Uryu laying in the center of it, as he appears to have taken a lot of damage from the attack, to the point where he had needed to utilize Sclaverai in order to restore himself. Now the last technique which Renji uses in episode 33 is Hikotsu Taiho. This is actually an ability from his old Bankai form which was first used in chapter 210. When Hikotsu Taiho was used by Hihio Zabimaru, it was basically a concentrated blast of spiritual energy fired from the mouth of the snake, and this powerful blast takes up so much energy that it results in the breakdown of all of the segments of Hihio Zabimaru in the aftermath of the attack. Now Renji's use of Hikotsu Taiho in his So-O Zabimaru form is very different. After he has all of his Reiatsu drained, he generates a partially formed skeletal arm, and from the palm of this hand he fires a very weak Hikotsu Taiho with what very little Reiatsu he has left. While this attack was easily overpowered by Uryu's Holy Arrow, this does reveal that Renji still has access to some of his old techniques from the Hihio Zabimaru form of his Bankai. I knew that Renji was going to have somewhat of a new fight sequence within the 1000-Year Blood War arc anime, but nothing could have prepared me for a 10-minute anime exclusive fight where he truly went all out against Uryu. Now this fight sequence not only showed us new abilities for his new Bankai, but it also showed us very different applications of his Bankai techniques which were only briefly showcased within the manga during his fight against Mask the Masculine. He had used his skeletal arm Hihio in several different ways here, and the snake's head with the blade protruding from its mouth was used in so many unique ways during this anime exclusive fight. I was really impressed with how the shoulder pads had attached to the bottom of the snake's head, and with the blade having retracted, as he essentially was using Hihio Zabimaru here, which means that So-O Zabimaru retains all of the excellent long-range benefits of his old Bankai, along with granting him several new key abilities which strengthen Renji's close-range combat abilities. Hihio Tensho was another very impressive ability which allows Renji to restrain his opponents, and this is what had allowed him to charge up his all-new special finishing attack Zagai Zekko. And even though Renji had lost in the end, I'm just impressed with all of the new additions which had expanded upon the details of So-O Zabimaru revealed within the manga. This 10-minute anime exclusive sequence revealed to us so many unique applications of Renji's true Bankai, from how that blade extending from the snake's mouth can change into different shapes, including the shape of his Shikai, to the blade retracting with the snake's head extending out, essentially allowing Renji to use all of the perks of Hihio Zabimaru, and then the reveal that abilities like Hikotsu Taiho, which were staples to Renji's false Bankai, can still be used in his true Bankai state. Even visual details like the green fur on that giant skeletal arm having a purpose, with Renji's new technique Hihi Tensho using the fur in a very unique way. So this is absolutely everything that we have when it comes to Renji's new Bankai abilities, which expand upon his moveset revealed within episode 33 of the 1000-Year Blood War arc anime. What are your thoughts about Uryu's battle against Renji? Do you like all of the new additions to Renji's moveset? What was your favorite anime exclusive technique which Renji had utilized against Uryu? I'd love to know all of your thoughts about how So-o Zabimaru has been properly fleshed out now within the anime. Definitely continue the discussion in the comments. If there's anything that I've forgotten to mention about these new Bankai abilities from the anime, then definitely let me know. And lastly, thank you for making it to the end of this video, and I cannot wait to see you in my next Bleach Explained video. A massive thank you goes out to all of my amazing Patreon supporters for helping to make this video possible. If you also want to support the channel and see your name in the end of my videos, then check out my Patreon, which has loads of perks like early video access and so much more. Thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.